welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 8, Episode 7.
Or Episode 173 if you're counting.
Thank you so much, as always, to the Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this show and all kinds of other stuff we do possible. Also, thank you to the Patreon contributors because we just released today my request review for the film Batman Begins. So,
yes.
Really excited about it. It was released a day or two ago just for the Patreon contributors early, and now it's up on Channel Awesome and up on YouTube as well. So I'm excited because I think that's been a fantastic basis for who Batman is.
Yes, yes.
And so anytime we now bring up not quite Justice League or actual Justice League coming up, we've got this other film franchise kind of looming over its back, kind of overlooking how Batman should look and behave. And so,
well, I mean, for as much as I appreciate the Nolan series, and I was there opening day like an hour ahead of time before everybody else showed up for the theater. I had no idea that it was going to blow up as big as it did, because I knew Batman was big.
Yeah.
I just had no idea at the time. Because I saw the first one and that was great. I ended up cosplaying to the second one as the Joker with a friend of mine at the time. And then, of course, the third one, doing as well as it did, despite not being that great. I
think that's a lot of people's sentiment over.
But I still hold that series in high regard. As much as I like it, I still have my problems with it. Like, I got okay with the way the Batsuit looks in those movies, but I can't say that I prefer it to the Batfleck version. That's the version I always wanted.
I don't prefer it either, but I don't know. Batfleck is also not perfect, if you ask me.
No, by no means whatsoever,
So
but there's nothing wrong with that suit necessarily.
No. If you could quite honestly transform Batman the Animated Series well enough into live action somehow, I think that would be it.
That would be great.
So that's what's been going on with me anyway. I've got a couple more request reviews coming up down the pipeline. You got anything else going on before we go?
Technically, so do you. We've got something to announce that we realized we should have talked about at the beginning of last week's show, but we'll bring it up this time. We're going to be up in Austin next weekend for DreamHack.
Yeah, DreamHack Austin. So not this weekend, but next weekend, 28th, 29th, 30th, I believe. So we've got our cartoon intro sing-along yet again.
Bring it back to Texas.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. We've never really truly done it in this format in Texas, I don't believe.
No.
Well...
No, never. Never at another event in Texas. Never before.
Okay, we're not gonna
This is
talk
the first
about
time.
Okay, sure. This is the first time. It's the first time it's been a competition. A really, in-depth competition.
Yes.
So, I'm really excited about it. So, DreamHack is kind of an expensive event, admittedly, but if you're going to be there, we're doing our thing at 10:30 a.m. Saturday morning the 29th, so I'm really excited about it. Hope some of you guys will be able to make it down there if you're in the Austin area next weekend.
Yes.
And anything else before we talk about what we're talking about on the show today?
Well, the one thing I'm looking forward to, because we were talking about this before, because this is a new event, correct?
Well, it's new for Austin.
Yeah.
There are DreamHacks across the country.
But this is the first time they're having it there.
I believe so, yes.
Well, you were saying this is more PC-based gaming.
Oh yeah, this is very esports heavy.
I do understand there is going to be something of a cosplay presence here. I've been wondering ever since the event dropped last week for Overwatch how quickly somebody's going to get out these new skins as costumes.
Right.
For Talon Widowmaker, for Black Watch McCree. So I'm going to be looking out for that. You still haven't played the event.
No, I'm honestly not that interested.
Why don't you play the event?
They're not that interesting to me.
But it's good.
Alright, I believe you, I trust you.
It's story-based.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Enjoy the same things I do.
I don't always have to.
It would be nice.
No, it's okay. Alright.
You guys see what I have to work with here.
So, anything else?
Other than that, no, most of it we're saving for the show, and we got some big topics tonight.
There are some relatively big topics, yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and let you guys know what our upcoming stories are over the course of the evening before we actually get to them. First of all, this past week, the initial teaser trailer for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, finally dropped. That happened during Star Wars celebration this past weekend. So, and we knew something big was going to happen.
We knew it was coming. We knew.
So we're going to be talking. So there were, if you're wanting to stay away from anything Star Wars related, because I know you people exist, and you just want to save the whole thing for when the film actually releases, we will warn you before that story comes up so that you can like maybe mute it or something and then come back a little bit later, come back to the rest of the show. We'll warn you, I promise.
Yes. And then our second story for the evening just came out this morning. We got our first official look at Ultraman Jeed, the latest installment in the Ultraman franchise. We're going to tell you guys about his powers, his lineage, and what you can expect from him toy-wise.
Yeah, a whole bunch of toys.
A lot of toys.
So there's just a ton of toys. And then finally, we kind of speculated that this was going to happen. I think it was really obvious.
It was pretty freaking obvious.
Reportedly, Nintendo is going to be releasing Super NES Classic, just like the NES Classic. So tiny little NES that sold out everywhere. We'll probably be seeing the exact same thing.
Except Super Nintendo.
Except Super Nintendo, so... Who knew? You could have guessed. We probably all knew. Nintendo wasn't fooling anybody. So we'll be talking about the potential for it, what did not work about the NES Classic, and what they could do with the SNES Classic to make it work.
Yes, but of course, before all that, we've got our follow-ups for the evening.
Yes, please take it away, Josh.
So yes, let's get to it. So first and foremost, interesting news coming out earlier this week. We got our first look at Sci-Fi's new series, Krypton, which will be debuting there over on the channel. So this seems to be based in the Man of Steel mythos, that Krypton, not nearly as overly CGI, but arguably for our money, that was the best part of the Man of Steel movie.
Right, I would have watched an entire movie just about what was going on Krypton before it exploded.
It looks like what they're giving you here is a series of that.
That could
because
be okay.
The design looks the same, it's the same key that you see Kal-El, Clark using there in the movie, showing the story of Krypton before, about 2 generations back. We're going to be following Sieg-El. This is a reference, of course, to Joe Siegel, one of the creators of Superman, the grandfather of Kal-El there, and his efforts to try and save the planet, because apparently it wasn't just Jor-El who knew that this place was going... and it was going quick.
Yeah.
So that does look interesting.
Very, yes.
I was not down with the idea, and then this trailer started selling me on it. I mean, it just goes to show DC knows what they're doing more with TV than they do with movies.
I agree, definitely.
Alright, so let's actually talk about the movies there for a second, specifically Batgirl. So, we of course reported before that Joss Whedon has been signed on to direct the Batgirl movie there for the DC Extended Universe. He had given a few comments about that earlier, saying the things he was looking for in the star for Batgirl, saying that there's a high potential he's going to go with an unknown.
That would be good.
Over a name, because there's too much...
Get excited over unknowns,
Yeah, exactly, because there's too much attached to a name.
Yes.
Like, names are good, names sell movies, but he wants to make sure he gets the character right first, and then he'll find the actress who matches that afterwards.
I like that.
He's
that
not doing it with an actress in mind.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm absolutely down with that. That makes me feel a little bit better about it.
Right.
So hopefully that's some good news about that. And then also there on the DC end of things, we got another look at Injustice 2, the sequel game coming out later on this year. This showing Brainiac showing up in the game. They're having his machinations around against the Justice League, who have all since split up. There's also some quotes that Batman will be more murdery in this version of the story.
Oh boy!
Because that's the kind of game they're displaying there.
I mean, if that's just like you said, if that's the kind of game it is.
If that's the kind of game it is, like I would care a little bit more if the costumes this time around weren't so ugly.
Oh yeah, I kind of agree.
Because I get it, it's part of their leveling system. You can modify your armor however you want for different stats and abilities. That's fine. It just looks really bulky for everybody. Like everybody's got this unnecessary headgear and extra lines where there shouldn't be, and it's just too much. It's too much.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into our Marvel news. A lot of Marvel news this week.
Okay.
A lot of it. Okay,
Tell me about it.
So Freeform, of course, has a couple of Marvel works coming down the pipeline. The biggest thing we can talk about here was the trailer for Cloak and Dagger,
yes.
which debuted earlier this week. Admittedly, I only have so much information about Cloak and Dagger. I didn't really read the comics. I've only seen them show up in, like, what was it, Separation Anxiety, Spider-Man and Venom, and then a small appearance there in Ultimate Spider-Man. For what it's worth, though, it looks interesting.
Yes.
I do like what they're doing with it. The atmosphere seems tonally a little closer to the Netflix series, which I'm also cool with. There's also a reference there blatantly to the Roxxon Corporation, which you do see throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so there's another tie there.
Right.
So good on them for keeping that tie together for all of their properties.
Yes.
But yes, we'll be seeing more of that out of Freeform. In addition to that, we also got the official lineup for the New Warrior series that they've got there for Freeform. First and foremost, of course, there at the bottom of the screen, you'll see good old Squirrel Girl, the person everybody's very happy to see on the team. She'll be the leader.
I've never been especially excited about Squirrel Girl. It's not my thing.
They're going to be packaging her as a good role model. She's...
Well, I mean, that's cool. That is cool.
She's bright, she's cheerful, she brings everybody together, she talks to squirrels, she can beat up Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Great qualities to have. That'll, of course, be rounded out by Mr. Immortal, Night Thrasher, Speedball, Microbe, and Debris. All of them being various races, ethnicities, temperaments, sexuality. It's all going to be covered there in this animated series there on Freeform, so more on that as it develops. Also, over on the Infinity War end of things, so there were some set pictures taken, not official, showing, and I won't go into detail, but it does involve two Avengers that do have a lot of history there in the comic books, specifically Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
Some things that were hinted at somewhat strongly there in Civil War will be further developed here in the movie. If you want to see those pictures, they're very easy to find.
Very easy, yeah.
Also on that end of things, they have confirmed that for the movie after Infinity War, that Spider-Man will be showing up in that movie, and that there will be a sequel to Homecoming. Like we figured that was going to happen anyway.
Probably was going to happen, but you'll remember we also said probably a few weeks back, they were saying, well, this is probably the last time that Spider-Man's going to happen, so we got to do the best with him we possibly can.
Well, it looks like they've got plans for it. They're working it out.
Yeah, so I hope
important.
so, and I hope that Sony decides we make more money doing it like this. Just keep working out this deal between ourselves and Marvel, I guess.
No, it seems that Marvel's got everything worked out just fine. We've also got a confirmation from James Gunn. He will be directing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay.
The second one hasn't even dropped yet. Still another 2 weeks before we get that.
Must have tested well.
It must have tested really well. So, of course, we've got that coming up. In addition to that, stupid computer going slow, we did get confirmation that we do have a director, or directors I should say, for Captain Marvel, that of course being the next in this next phase of movies starring Brie Larson. That would be the directing pair of Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, best known for helming 2015's Mississippi Grind. They're going to be directing that movie, so now Captain Marvel can still move forward. Apparently they've already got the costumes worked out. They have shown Brie Larson what the costume looks like, and there's apparently a video of her reacting to the rendering of her in the costume.
That's pretty cool.
But we won't be seeing that for a while. On top of that, they have confirmed, Marvel has confirmed that they will be showing up this year to San Diego Comic-Con. Most likely, the big money is that they'll be showing Black Panther footage.
Okay, that would be cool.
Hopefully we'll be getting that. Yeah, I've been wanting to see it. And to round that out for Marvel, the filming just finished today for Black Panther.
Black Panther, okay.
Yes. So let's go ahead and move over just slightly from Marvel to Marvel Fox, where we have Deadpool 2 news. We have our first look at Cable from the movie, which we have right here, and there's Cable. No, really, it's him. That's Josh Brolin. They're getting his face plastered so that they can make a mold for him, obviously probably to make the prosthesis to make him Cable for the movie. He's still very excited to do it. Everybody thinks he's going to be bringing a lot to the role.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, honestly, he's not exactly the first person I thought of because, of course, you don't often cast somebody who's already in a cinematic universe, but I get it, Marvel, Fox. You guys are working their stuff out.
They're different, though.
They're different, though.
They don't get along as well as you'd like. They're not gonna. These two characters aren't gonna end up in the same movie. If they do, it's not gonna be for a very, very long time.
Right, exactly.
Very long time until somebody gets their act together.
Okay, so moving on to some other news. Again, talking about Fox. another 10 episodes were greenlit for the X-Files. So yeah, everybody loved.
Somebody wanted it, I guess.
Somebody wanted it. You know, we just reported about that audio series that they're doing last week. So now we've got more X-Files coming. Enough people, I guess, really liked those last 10 episodes that they put out that, let's do it again.
Or Fox isn't doing much else with their lives.
Not really.
Okay, I'm gonna say it's that, personally.
I mean, they've got like 3 good shows still, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
They've got 3 good shows and 2 of them are Bob's Burgers. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit of other news there out of Star Wars Celebration. So we got our look at the 4th and final season for Star Wars Rebels with that trailer there showing the rounding out of this story of the band of people
so we've got a season to catch up on.
We do have a season to catch up on. Admittedly, we've been pretty busy on our end. But yeah, it looks like it's finally all going to come to a head.
Right.
And having looked through, thank you, YouTube, people have put together compilations of every time you see the ghost there in Rogue One, towards the end of the movie, fighting in the battle above the...
So they acknowledge it. It's totally canon.
It's totally canon. It's absolutely canon.
Which is pretty awesome. So I have very high hopes that the final season will even further tie it into just how canon it actually is.
Yes, and seeing Hera there in a, rogue pilot flight suit, it just gives me the fizz, all kinds.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want them to go.
Well, that's why not every single episode is getting destroyed so that you can't watch it again.
I know.
They're not going anywhere, Josh.
I know.
They're still there.
But I will give credit where credit is due. It's probably better that they end at 4 instead of stretching it out to a 6 that doesn't belong.
Yeah, that makes sense. Totally complete sense.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit of Godzilla news. So right now we have found out that what the working title for Godzilla King of Monsters is. As a lot of you know, when movies are filming, they try to keep things under wraps. So when they're filming in a certain location, they'll have a different name that they refer to the movie by.
Right.
So with Godzilla, the working title is Fathom. Like fathoms deep, like the ocean, like he's in the ocean. So that's the title there. In addition to that, Toho this year reported an incredible boon for their brand, specifically because of Shin Godzilla and also Makoto Shinkai's Your Name, which was released under Toho. Of course, that is still playing in some cities here in the U.S. If you haven't gotten a chance, get out there, go see that movie.
It's fantastic. I'm sure it will eventually hit DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah, Funimation's going to get that out there. So, it's been doing very well, still tracking with very decent numbers for an anime released theatrically here in the U.S.
Yes, very well. So, not like it was top 3 to top 5 in the box office for the weekend it released or anything, but considering that it is a limited run anime movie, that's pretty good.
Yeah, officially it's number 13 at the box office, so it's not that bad considering, your top one is like Disney and then the good Cars movie, Fate of the Furious. So yes, there's that to report on. Talking about some other giant monsters, so we've gotten confirmation that Dwayne Johnson's video game adaptation Rampage just started filming this week.
Very interesting, yeah.
So hopefully we'll be seeing more of that. A little bit on his character, they've said that it has something to do with him being aware of poaching in the area, so it's sort of tying it to realistic animals. And then however that relates to them becoming giant, we'll have to see.
It sounds like something believable in Rampage.
Yeah,
sort of.
But how much believability do you need?
Well, what I mean by believable is how you tie it into this source material that came from this game.
Now they're saying they're trying to grow it from there, make it more visceral, more scary, more entertaining than what just the simple video game is. And admittedly, yeah, I lost count of how many hours I logged in playing Rampage at an arcade. I'd play Rampage, Ninja Turtles, Simpsons, those are the ones I would play.
Right.
Well, okay, more specifically like Rampage World Tour. But yeah, that was one of my favorite arcade games, so this shouldn't be too bad.
You would think? But there's also not... I guess you could go anywhere with the story, because there's only so much story in Rampage.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, I'm holding it to the same standard I held the movie Ninja Assassin to.
They gave you ninjas
and they gave me an assassination, and that's all I needed. With Rampage, all I need is at least one monster, nay 3, busting up a city. If you give me that, I will be satisfied.
Understandable.
Because you met the bar.
Yeah.
It's not a high bar.
No, it's not. You can pretty much just go...
Yeah, and there you are.
You're good.
Or more like... and there you are.
Push the bar over.
Push the bar over, and the bar is a building. and there's another monster pushing over another building.
Okay,
That's how that works. Okay, so moving on to our Tokusatsu corner here, we just got confirmation out of Shout Factory that they will be releasing Mega Ranger on DVD this August 15th.
Glad that this is still moving forward.
Yes.
More Super Sentai stateside on DVD.
Yes.
Very good. They're continuing to move forward from where we picked up with Power Rangers, which makes sense for a North American audience. I have to imagine that should they get all the way up through the Sentai series that we took and mangled for Power Rangers, then they'll eventually go back and go to the older ones that we've never seen before over in the United States.
Here's hoping.
That is my hope, yeah.
Because if you look at the rate they're doing it, I think it's, somebody did the math, it's like 6 years or 9 years until they finally will have caught up to where Super Sentai and Power Rangers are currently. Because I can imagine once they get to certain titles, really around the counterpart to Wild Force, Gal Ranger, and on the more modern millennial era, those are the ones that are going to sell really fast. Because admittedly, there's not as many people as aware of Mega Ranger. Admittedly, there are subs out there, but the later on ones like Deca Ranger, Gokaiger for sure, those will sell like hotcakes the second those hit.
You know, once the fandom, the years that the fandom finally started kicking in with fan subs, then people are going to want to start buying those officially.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes, we've got that to look forward to on that end. Over with Kamen Rider Eggzade, we got our first look today at the spin-offs for Kamen Rider Laser, specifically for the Hyper Battle DVD. Of course, Laser, the writer who couldn't stay dead even though he's totally dead, will be showing up in these DVDs there with Eggzade. Nice to see that they're still making use of the character, still have him there. He's doing so well for a dead writer. Because, you know, he's not the only writer that's died in the course of a series. I've just never seen the fandom gather around one so feverishly before.
Well, maybe they shouldn't have killed him so early. You know, I'm just saying.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe they should have actually given him more things to do.
Yeah.
And now they have to give him more things to do.
Yeah, they're having to figure out ways to keep him alive even though he's dead.
Yeah.
But see, I kind of appreciate that out of them. They're trying to work around ways to still use him without doing a complete flip on it, like say in Gaim, where Zangetsu was clearly dead, and then it's like, no, he's just in a coma. He's fine. He woke up. And then you feel cheap afterward. Here, no, they're keeping him dead. We're just still using him in other side media.
But, and this will be maybe the last thing I say about this particular topic, I am still not convinced that people being disappeared means that they're dead. I'm not convinced of that, because Toei can't show me a body and then put them in. Oh, Jada Prague, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. Appreciate it. No, I'm not convinced that disappearance means death, because it's not a body in the ground.
We'll have to see how they address that. There's the teasing that they could bring somebody back currently in the series, but
which tells me they're gonna do it.
We'll have to see how it works.
Them teasing it at all tells me that that's what they can do.
We'll see how it works.
And I know that was probably the end of your notes, but since we're on Tokusatsu, I wanted to make mention of one other thing that I saw earlier today, and then we can go ahead and move on. I remember a long time ago through Time Warner Cable, and now in this area, Time Warner Cable has been bought out by Spectrum Cable. There was a paid premium station called TV Japan.
Yes, there was this as well.
I used to subscribe to it, but it was really expensive.
And it was really boring at the time.
Well, a lot, there were good blocks that I actually really liked watching, but yeah, you had to get it at the right time. But yeah, Kamen Rider Wizard is going to be airing on these, it's a North American, Japanese TV station. It's owned by the NHK, so that's cool. It's not subtitled. And it's not
so you
dubbed,
won't know what's going on.
So you don't know what's going on.
Which is weird because a dub exists.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest dub.
It's not a great dub, but a legal dub does exist. But no, it's not weird because actually primarily TV Japan is meant to exist for a Japanese audience that happens to live in America. And they're hoping that Japanese subscribers are going to be the one paying for that subscription service. And so pretty much all the anime that had ever aired on TV Japan is all unsubbed. It's all just in Japanese. So that's the kind of station that TV Japan is. I just think it's really interesting that Kamen Rider Wizard is airing on an American station of any variety at all. I just find that kind of fascinating. That's about it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's about it.
It's important. It really is.
Yes.
So yes, that's all of our follow-ups for the evening. Let's go ahead and get into our first story with Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Right, so I'm going to be playing the trailer here in the background behind us. Quite honestly, I don't feel like there's too terribly much to spoil.
I don't think so either, and I think that's a lot of people's complaint.
But I want you guys to be aware that that's what we're going to be talking about if you don't want to be hearing about it right now. So here we go, I'm running the trailer right now. So
okay, so this of course was revealed during Star Wars Celebration last Friday. The event was live streamed, and you can watch it now over on YouTube, the entire thing. Of course, director Rian Johnson was really cool about it the night before. He spent 4 hours there with the audience, you know, that were waiting patiently in line, just chilling out, signing autographs, you know, really bonding with the fans. So, you know, that goes a long way, especially with the crowd there at Celebrations. And, of course, they had this hour-long panel talking about everything that we can expect from the movie. And for the most part, it's about what you figure. They're taking things to the next level. A lot of characters very happy to be there from other projects. Of course, you had Daisy Ridley there, John Boyega. Unfortunately, not everybody could make it. Of course, Mark Hamill was there talking about his character.
Right.
What it's like to have lines. Of course, you know, teasing certain things like maybe a relation familially with Daisy's character.
But he's been teasing that for a couple of years now, too.
He's been trolling. And of course, the introduction there of Kelly Marie Tran as this new character, Rose. She works in the engineering department there for the Resistance. She'll have a very decent-sized role there in the movie, and there will be some sort of they didn't really define it, but a relationship between her and Finn. Whether that's friendship or whatever, they didn't say as much, but they at least showed what her character looks like. So as far as this goes for the trailer, the footage itself, of course, they were teasing everybody in the audience. Well, that's everything. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. No, we're kidding. Of course, we brought a teaser. Here it is. What's really cool about it is that the poster, which we probably should have shown a picture of now that I think about it, everybody there in the audience got to take home a poster.
That's really cool.
Really nice, awesome. You know, you got one half of Kylo Ren, you got one half of Luke Skywalker, and then in the middle there's Rey in the hero pose.
It's gonna be really sad if it's half of Luke Skywalker's face, half Mark Hamill's face, the same way that the Guyver box art has half.
Oh,
Mark
don't
Hamill's
do that!
Face, and Mark Hamill's like not even hardly in the movie.
No, that was the last movie. That was the last movie. We did that.
Yeah, but Mark Hamill wasn't even on the poster for that, so that made sense.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna be like the Guyver, where hey, we got Mark Hamill, let's put him on the poster all big, like he's important and he matters, and it turns out he doesn't matter in the movie.
No, don't do that. No.
No. So this trailer, I feel like, pretty much tells you, like, at least 90% of what you could have already assumed this movie was going to be about anyway. We don't know what's up with these things in the desert. Okay, explain.
Okay, so as far as those things in the desert, a good battle will be taking place there on this new planet.
I mean, that seems
I didn't keep the notes here, but it's a mining planet. So what those ships are doing is they rake off the topsoil for this rich red mineral that's lying underneath that both the Resistance and the First Order want.
Okay.
And if you look off there into the distance, there are these walkers that they're going to have to fight. Again, you know, a throwback to Empire Strikes Back. There's got to be a walker battle.
Always a walker battle.
The rumor right now is that they are what people are referring to as gorilla walkers. So they move or are shaped like gorillas.
Okay.
So we haven't been given a shot of what that looks like just yet. But that's something to expect. This is going to be a set piece there in the movie.
And then I just feel like, okay, so we saw Finn. He's not dead, clearly.
Yes, of course.
We knew
people,
he wasn't gonna die.
Finn's back, and he's from John Boyega himself there at the panel. He did say he's going to have to face the decisions now. Does he fully join up with the Resistance and fight back, or does he continue to run in fear from the First Order? Because admittedly, there at the end of the last movie, it was very fight or flight.
Yeah.
There, you know, he was really emotional, picking up that lightsaber. You know, of course, Han Solo had just died in front of him. You know, he's feeling very emotional, fighting Kylo Ren. Of course, Kylo Ren, a lot of people are commenting on here, hey, his scar's not the same. What the hell?
Probably for a reason.
Yes, and that reason being, it looks stupid. That is the legitimate reason that Rian Johnson gave for the scar movement. He said, I just couldn't justify the scar going straight up the bridge of his nose, so we've moved it slightly.
Wow, okay. Cool.
So that's the excuse. It looked stupid. He still has it, it's just slightly off.
I mean, then again, you know, when moving from episode 4 to episode 5, it was really stupid that you could see straight into Darth Vader's helmet at the time, so you had to give him some different goggles,
some lenses.
That you actually could not see into the helmet for, so, you know, changes happen between movies. It's something you can't... you can't explain from movie to movie, but that's cool.
They did make mention, of course, that Oscar Isaac there is Poe Dameron again. We'll be having more adventures and interaction with Poe. A lot of fans very happy about that, shipping the two of them together.
I start to wonder, because then you do see the photos of Finn wearing Poe's pretty much his entire outfit.
No, he's wearing the entire outfit. He's pulling a Lando at the end of episode 5.
Yeah.
Like, you're wearing Han's clothes. Does anybody else think this is weird? Yeah, thank you, Family Guy.
So even though I typically am like, nah, I'm not gonna get on with your conspiracy theories, now I have to admit, I'm starting to wonder. I am starting to wonder a little bit, and that would be very interesting to see if they actually choose to go in that direction. I bet not, but it would be interesting to see if they did.
Now, of course, the big thing of the trailer is, of course, Rey receiving training under Luke Skywalker.
Which we knew was gonna happen. So again, these are things that I'm just, as I was watching it, I kind of felt like, well, this is what I expected. I expected this. I expected this. It was cool enough imagery, and I'm going to be really excited. I'm not excited to see this movie, right? It's just that this trailer didn't do anything really exciting for me to make me think, oh, this is such a new thing, and I need to know what's going to happen, because so far they're just, it's not enough. I'm going to need to see something else. The only thing that I felt was especially exciting or interesting was Luke's last line in the trailer saying,
I only know one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end.
Yeah.
Of course, they have confirmed that the title itself, The Last Jedi, is singular. It is referring to Luke Skywalker. So here we see...
I thought they decided it was plural.
No, it's not plural.
Could have sworn they said it was plural.
Nope, I did my homework.
I did too, so please go ahead.
So yes, we see here that clearly Luke is training Rey in his own way, not unlike the way he was trained by Yoda, just his own take on it. We do also see there, inside one of the caves there on the island, he seems to have been able to recover some old Jedi tomes of some kind that he must have referred back to in order to train other Jedi, since we know from the context of The Force Awakens that he had trained Jedi before, or at least attempted to, until everything went sour with Kylo Ren. So at this point, we're not sure where exactly Luke is in terms of mindset here, why he thinks that the Jedi should end, and what that has to do with the whole idea of balance to the Force.
Yeah, I totally figure that it's entirely possible that it means that if the Jedi end, that also means that the need for Jedi have ended. Meaning, if there's no more Sith, then why do we need Jedi? So if all evil is defeated, then we don't need this strict good, because you know what? The strict good lifestyle kind of sucks. So.
Well, see, it's interesting to think about, because Luke, of course, was brought up in an era where there was no Jedi Council, there were no clear-cut Sith other than Darth Vader and Palpatine.
Right.
So his experience differs so greatly from the prequels, from any other portion of the media previous to it, that his take on what the Jedi mean and what the Sith mean is wildly different, and then Rey's going to be just learning about this, so I imagine she'll be questioning a lot of it. And Luke will not feel like he wants to be questioned because, you know, he's seen some stuff.
I also feel like it's entirely possible that we can start delving into gray area between light and dark.
Well, yeah, of course, the games absolutely address that. Chirrut from Rogue One is a great example of somebody who can benefit from Jedi teachings, yet not necessarily be a Jedi.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd love to see more of that gray area as well,
It's possible to learn about the Force and yet not choose one religion sect of it or the other, I think. I think that's entirely possible, as any religion on Earth right now, any real religion, you could totally come at it the exact same way. Either take it in one direction, or take it in the other direction, or decide, no, I'm somewhere in the middle of that. And I think it's entirely possible to address that with fictional space fantasy also.
Yeah, yes, I would agree with that. And of course, we see just that little bit of Kylo Ren. He looks pretty pissed.
I mean, yeah, that's...
Noticeably pissed.
I'm not surprised. That's why I'm saying the rest of this trailer is, like, not surprising or shocking to me.
Really, I think more than anything else, it's just the idea that we know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that, yeah, it's stuff that you expected, but now we get to see it.
Yes.
Now we're starting to get the confirmation of things that we knew they were moving ahead with the training, with continual space battles, with the idea of Jedi philosophy versus Sith philosophy, which of course means a lot to a lot of people over the scope of 40 years.
Yes.
So, you know, a lot of people mold themselves around the things these movies tell, and they're emotionally invested in that. And along with that, of course, goes without saying, with a couple of quotes that came out today, that Carrie Fisher, of course, this being the last things that she filmed, and the confirmation that she won't be showing up in Episode 9, her scenes will be very poignant given the fact that they didn't know at the time that this was all they were going to get. So Oscar Isaac did go on record as saying the scene that he films with her, which he believes is the last one of her in the movie, is going to be very emotional.
For him to actually have to watch?
Well, not just that, what it was like the day of, because of the fact it was very... there was some physicality involved, and then once they would yell cut, she would go right back to cracking jokes and bringing levity to the cast. Like, she would have a Coke in her hand all the time, and her goal was to make Oscar Isaac laugh during each take, and then they'd have to go back and do it all over again. She made him a
target, huh?
Yeah, exactly, but that was the thing that made her so endearing to the cast, was when she would do that, show that very Carrie-like affection towards the other cast members, and of course, goes without saying, she's greatly missed by the cast, of course, definitely by the fans. Mark Hamill, of course, later on having that solo-led panel there dedicated to Carrie's memory. That, of course, is going to be a lot of it. Really, we don't get a good shot of her here, just the back of her there at a battle station.
Yeah, I think it might have been too much in this particular
to start
trailer.
off with, it's better that they didn't do it right away. We'll probably see her, it's going to happen, we're going to see her in promotional material. It's just going to be very bittersweet.
Yes.
So yeah, we've got this to look forward to. Now, all things considered, today is 4/20, save your jokes, but next month will be May the 4th.
Yes.
So here's hoping maybe they'll give us a little something extra, picture, longer trailer, something.
They wouldn't not.
Yeah,
you know?
because they're not
like
they're not DC. They're smarter than that.
Just by a little bit, at least. By a
little bit. So yes, this
they have a better, and some might say that this is their downfall, but they have a better panel of experts knowing how to pander to their crowd.
No, they know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
They've got my money.
Yeah, they do.
That's not even a question. They've got my money.
It's true that I feel like the last movie did not take a lot of risks, and they were playing it very safe, and that's why they feel like, oh, this tested well, and this did not test well. Well, Disney and Marvel and Lucasfilm, they've got it figured out.
They've got it.
Better job
I'm not worried.
Yeah.
So yes, we've got that. Let's go ahead and move on to our second story of the evening with the latest installment in the Ultraman franchise.
So yeah, we're looking at Jeed here. That is the correct pronunciation, but there's a lot of debate over the correct romanization of his name. There are people spelling it like Jeed. Some people are saying Zeed, which, you know, we've seen that in such things as Jew Ranger. It's frequently spelled with a Z, or Dengimon is spelled Denji with a Z in the middle, Denzimon.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Or even most recently, Jeed has been spelled with a G, which, you know, we as an English-speaking audience sometimes use the letter G to make a J sound.
Sometimes.
But we don't know what the actual Romanized spelling of it is, but the pronunciation is Jeed.
Yes.
For sure. It's
so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Jeed here. Now, one of the things we noticed when we got the silhouette of the new design is that the eyes looked very evil, which is weird considering Ultraman eyes are usually very egg-shaped and have been for some time. You know, maybe a little squared off. But that was something we noticed. Well, they make sense in context, as you'll see there in the background. There's Ultraman Belial, who happens to be Ultraman Jeed's father.
So, and Belial is not a great Ultraman. He's not a good
evil.
Ultraman.
He's evil.
So that makes his eyes make a little bit more sense. Kind of got half the evil eye going on there.
Yes. And then, of course, there in the background as well, you'll see Ultraman Zero, who will be making a return appearance here for the series. We haven't gotten confirmation yet, but most likely Mamoru Miyano will be back to voice Ultraman Zero in this new series. So, going along with this, so Jeed himself has a or rather his human host, I should say, will have a transformation device that he uses to become Jeed, called the Jeed Riser. Now, this is an odd device. I can't really hardly describe it other than likening it to the device that Ultraman Orb currently uses, except the top part where you put the card in, that's gone.
It's kind of a gun, kind of.
It's a grip. I would call it a grip.
It's a grip with a trigger, so...
And there's I guess a little box where you insert these new items that we're going to be using here in this show called capsules. Which makes sense, capsules being a thing in Ultraman, the original series. So each capsule will contain the power of an Ultraman, much the same as, Ultraman X or Ultraman Orb have done so far.
Where they used
the power
figures to...
Figures and cards of previous Ultramen. So to become his base form, which is referred to as Jeed Primitive, he's going to need the capsule for the original Ultraman and Belial, his father, to become this Ultraman. Now, from there, he can, just like Ultraman Orb, use 2 batteries at a time. I say batteries, but capsules. 2 capsules at a time to become these different Ultraman forms, which we've got here listed out. Solid Burning, Acro Smash, and Magnificent, each being a combination of different Ultramen. So I think it's interesting that they're going for a second year in a row where they're having to combine 2 Ultraman powers, because we just had that with Ultraman Orb.
Right, and that I feel like the Ultraman franchise has had to make a lot of alterations to how they perform and how they sell toys, because realize it wasn't all that long ago, just a small handful of years ago, that Ultraman was almost dead.
Right.
As a franchise, all things
Tsubadaya was hurting.
Yeah, so there were just years where we didn't have new Ultraman series. There used to be an Ultraman theme park down in Kumamoto, and that closed down, and so things were getting kind of scary, like, oh man, here's like the Superman of Japan, and it looks like he might not be around for that much longer, but then bam, they reinvigorate with Ginga, and which I didn't feel like was a very good series at first, and I did not understand, now you're going really toyetic, you got these little toy and I understand there are major kaiju fans out there who are like, I've got to collect all these same-sized figures of all of these
as a collector, scale is important.
Scale, that much I get, but I was just like, oh, this is really childish and really kitschy, but that's what Tsubadaya needed, quite frankly. That, and finally getting on the ball and releasing subs in the United States.
Yeah, now they have a Western audience.
Releasing new and old Ultraman series legally for streaming in the West.
And even if Ginga wasn't that great, we had Ginga S afterwards, which really helped.
Ginga S fixed a lot of it, and then I felt like X built upon kind of that same system and did a better storytelling job. Still not perfect, but better. And now I'm hearing nothing but great things about Orb and Orb
Fight Victory.
Orb Fight Victory, yeah.
And of course, now we've got Jeed coming out, which we haven't gotten any confirmation of yet, but most likely, fingers crossed, that will end up on Crunchyroll as well. So the idea, again, going back to X, of transforming into monsters, that will happen as well here. Belial, Ultraman Belial, will be able to use monster capsules and transform into monsters himself.
Which is another thing that they've done in recent years.
Specifically in Ginga. And, well, specifically transforming into a monster that was Ginga, borrowing the monster's power that was more X.
Yes.
So we've got that as well. In addition to that, Ultraman Zero will be getting a new form, here in the series called Ultraman Zero Beyond. And the way he'll achieve that is...
Is this what I'm looking at right here? This picture with the glasses? It totally looks like we're going original Ultraman and...
The interesting thing about it is you would think, oh, it's just the glasses on their own.
Or not original Ultraman. This was Ultra 7.
Ultra 7. Now, that makes sense, given that this year is the 40th anniversary of Ultra 7. Or, I'm sorry, 50th anniversary of Ultra 7.
That does make a lot of sense. So they're celebrating it real hard, too, because they recently announced they're making a rock album dedicated to the 50th anniversary of Ultra 7.
And of course that goes along with the lineage as well. Ultraman Zero is the son of Ultra 7. So, you know, I guess that's going to be a theme there in the show is,
Ultra 7's
fathers and sons, you know, power being passed down in lineage.
Big callback this year,
yeah. So I'm more interested in this than I am Orb. Now, don't get me wrong, I haven't had a chance to marathon through Orb yet, but the sequences that I'm seeing, the fight sequences, and the story looks pretty cool. I just think this one is more up my alley.
I would agree, yeah.
So, yeah, all of this stuff we're getting out of the initial toy scans. All this stuff will be become available later on this year. Now, like you were saying, I think it makes sense for them to become a little more toyetic in order to compete with, you know, your Kamen Rider, your Super Sentais out there, where it's just nothing but, you know, sell, sell, sell. And admittedly, especially with a series right now like Q Ranger, where it's almost a new Ranger each week, a new mecha each week, you need something that'll combat that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think this is smart, using a formula that you've already got. People like the idea of combining Ultraman powers, and then using a small collectible item. It doesn't necessarily have to be a figure, you know, blatantly, you know, these are the regular vinyl figures that we sell. We just put a little chip on the bottom.
Right.
No, it's these little collectible, almost battery-looking things like Beast batteries from, from Kyoto Uger.
Yes.
That's smart. It makes sense for them to do that and to keep up with that.
And then at the same time, you know, you got Takara Tomy trying to come back in this year with Idol Senshi Miracle Tunes. And they're super toyetic. You know, you've got your transformation device and 80 bajillion little jewels that you throw onto the device.
Now, see, that's the thing about it. When you were talking to me about that, it makes sense why that particular transformation device is as expensive as it is because of how much electronics are in it. The same thing will probably go for the, I just said it a second ago, for the Jeed riser. It depends on how much electronics they've already put into it, depending on how many capsules they've programmed into the
Is it the capsules that do it, or is it the transformation device that does
If I had to take a guess, all of the electronics are in the riser itself, and then the capsules just have maybe the little nubs on there that are what trigger the different noises. Which makes sense, you know, a lot of different transformation devices work like that.
But it'll also mean that the transformation device is easier to hack, and thus...
the hack will happen no matter what. People will figure it out day one.
Yeah.
It used to be that we had to wait, you know, like 5 days before somebody said they figured it out, and then another couple of days after that for the video to get up, but that was back in the dark ages, you know, 2009, ooh. Which is weird to say now since that was almost 10 years ago.
It's 8 years ago, Josh.
It was almost 15 years ago.
There's a big difference between...
It's been 84 years.
We need to stop.
Okay.
This needs to stop.
But yes, this is your first look there. Admittedly, design-wise, other than the face, he looks very similar to Orb to me. But I guess I get that.
But then again, a lot of Ultraman faces look very similar to one another.
Well, yeah, there's only so much you can do to revamp the idea of, you know, base silver suit with red accents and bright eyes.
Yeah.
But that's something I'll give to Ultraman. For as much as they keep this franchise alive, you can't mistake an Ultraman. Like, no, that's Ultraman. Can't. It's not like, you know, more recently Kamen Rider, where...
Unless you're talking about Gridman, which is almost Ultraman, but in computers.
Yeah, but at least
even then... It was made by Tsuburaya!
But at least even then, you can see where the roots go.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, with Kamen Rider, people argue, well, they used to be bugs, now it's... whatever this guy is with the spiky hair and the Nikes, like, what's going on with that? So, you know, props to them for staying true to their roots, knowing where their audience is, knowing where to get another audience over here in the West, and, yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to this one.
Definitely. And I guess we're done with this one. And we got one more thing. So that is a picture of a Super Nintendo.
Yes.
Yay! So why do we have a picture of a Super Nintendo?
Because Nintendo is dicking with us again. Because...
You say that when this sounds like it could be so cool.
Yeah, but that's what we said about the last thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and break it down here. So, we did report to you guys before that previously Nintendo had released the NES Classic. And we had just made the report last week that they're halting production completely on the NES Classic.
Well, we assumed, well, maybe they're going to come up with a Super NES
Something
Classic.
we didn't cover last week is that the Famicom Classic in Japan is doing the same thing. They're halting production as well. So it's like, well, crap. Because I really wanted that, and a lot of people really wanted that. For the price of a new game, you can have this system with all these beloved games on it for the low manufacturer-suggested retail price of $60 and your soul. And people wanted it. There was high demand. People were scalping it, and, you know, they pull it away from us, and people argue, Nintendo, what's wrong with you? Why don't you like money? No, they do like money because they're getting ready to sell you something else.
Right, and so I wonder, they're probably not going to put the games that were on the NES Classic onto the Super NES Classic.
No.
That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I wish they would, because I feel like that would be smart. You know, make a superior product that has the first thing stuff and more stuff, but I feel like they won't do it.
No. So yes, the idea is that they will be developing the NES Classic again for release during the holiday season this coming year. So a lot of us were like, that figures, and a lot of us are like, well, crap, now I have to save up $80 because the price will probably go up.
Right.
Now, the idea, of course, is that, well, if it's the Super Nintendo had a bevy of great games to play on that system.
So many JRPGs.
How much of that, and I was going to ask you this before the show, but it's probably better that I ask now, how much of that is going to be a licensing nightmare?
Oh,
for
well,
what they can and can't put on there.
That's a good question. I'm sure they're gonna first start, of course, with their own Nintendo
Super Mario
titles.
World, Star Fox, Mario Kart as well. You know, your base.
I would love if they went for Super Mario RPG, but
absolutely.
Then you gotta start knocking on Square Enix's door and say, hey, even though you used our characters, we still have to go to you to make sure that we've got all the appropriate licensing necessary, blah-de-blah. But then again, I don't know. Super Nintendo era was such a fantastic era of video gaming. I really wonder. I think that so long as you give these companies a little bit of the cut, there really shouldn't be a problem. They would be on board like that.
Let's cut to the quick here. One of the #1 games on people's minds, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It's on everything, though.
But I'm saying, though, it started here.
Yes.
No, I'm saying if they're not able to get Chrono Trigger on this thing, people will be pissed.
That's possible, yeah. So this also tells me, because, you know, with the Super Nintendo also came slightly bigger games.
Yes.
You know, they're not huge games by today's standards.
No, by no means.
They're definitely bigger than what was going to fit onto the NES Classic. So you're going to need more space on the Super NES Classic. And, you know what would be smart? Would be expandable space, so that maybe you could purchase more games or download more games onto it later, which is a thing that the NES Classic did not do. Would be smart to have controllers, a controller port for controllers that actually match, like, let's say, the Switch or your classic controllers and plug into the Super Nintendo.
Well, because I'm not in the slightest worried about space. Like, I can emulate most Super Nintendo games on this.
No, I'm really not worried. It's a matter of, are they going to provide the space or the external availability for more space if you need. No, space isn't a problem. Is Nintendo going to be smart enough to actually put the space on the damn thing?
Are they going to be smart enough to put the games on the damn thing?
Are you going to make it possible to connect to the internet at all so that you could download more games onto it if you really wanted to?
And the thing about it is, like, I wouldn't even hardly blame them if they wanted to be jerks about it and be like, yeah, you can have your classic games back, $1 each. They would make so much bank.
Yeah, because I'm sure the money adds up, of course, but if you're just going for a specific title that you're interested in, you're not spending a lot of money.
Like,
that's not a lot of money.
We waste that much on burgers and movies right now. $1 a game for something that you used to own, or may even still be in your collection, I think people would pay it.
Exactly.
For the price of an MP3, you could get to play I don't know, what's another not Nintendo favorite from Super Nintendo? Because I know a lot of my favorites on there, but I don't know that they would bring it back. Like, I actually liked a Nickelodeon Guts.
Oh, nobody played that game.
I played that game.
Nobody played that game.
I played with my brother.
You also like film comic adaptations.
Specifically, Batman Returns. That was a bomb game. I used to be able to speedrun it. I'm not good like that anymore.
Okay, see, you like video game adaptations of comics, and they're usually bad. So
not all. Some of them were pretty good for that. Death and Return of Superman was good for that one. Great beat 'em up.
It's another game nobody played.
No, if you want to talk about crappy games on there, like Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge. That was crappy. But of course, yeah, there were any number of other titles on there that you could use.
You're like choosing all of the games that nobody played. Nobody is shouting out these answers. People are gonna be shouting out like the Super Star Wars franchise.
Super Star Wars, that's a good one.
Be shouting out things like Super Mario All-Stars.
Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time, yeah, I guess.
Turtles in Time with Super Nintendo.
Yeah, Turtles in Time with Super. Any number of Final Fantasy titles.
Well, that goes back to the Square Enix question.
Yeah, or Dragon Warrior Quest. Dragon Quest Warrior.
Dragon Quest Warrior, man.
Warrior, yeah, Dragon Warrior. So,
yes.
Was Dragon Warrior on the NES Classic? No, I don't remember.
No, it wasn't. It might have. Was it on the Famicom Classic?
It might have been on the Famicom Classic.
Earthworm Jim would be nice.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, so as you can see, we can just spitball tons and tons of different ideas for what would be good.
I did see it there in the chat, and a lot of people are asking online. So, if they're following this trend of thought, and we'll try and round it out on this. So if they're going to put out the SNES Classic, are they going to do the same move where they put it out for maybe 3 months and then cut it off completely? That's it. If you got it, you got it. If you didn't, bad luck. You know, you're not getting it.
Right.
And then next Christmas, 2018, we get the N64 Classic.
Which, then you're starting to talk about a whole lot of space.
Yeah.
I really wonder whether or not they would actually do it, so... I don't know.
I don't know. Admittedly, a lot of people are already trying to save their money for that release that hasn't even been confirmed yet, but I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to do that.
I'm the generation that really wanted the Super Nintendo, though.
Yeah, so that was my system.
Yeah, Super Nintendo is far more important to me than the N64 was, even though I never owned an N64, and therefore owning an N64 Classic would be like, hey, here, now I can...
fill that gap in your collection.
Yeah, but even so, I'm just so much more attached to the Super Nintendo.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They're not going to put out Power Rangers Fighting Edition. I just wish they would.
See, you just like really terrible games.
Fighting Edition wasn't bad. Power Rangers Zeo Racing sucked.
Okay. So anyway, we've talked a lot about speculation. No real word.
Yeah, Superman 64 can go die in a fire.
No real word on when this would be coming out. This is coming reportedly out of Eurogamer, so we still need to wait on Nintendo themselves to make an official announcement, but this seems pretty darn near next to official, if you ask me.
Yeah, like, this is kind of a no-duh thing.
Yeah, we figured this was going to be coming, so here's hoping it's going to be at a reasonable price, and that you're actually going to be able to find it somewhere.
And that you'll be able to have 2 different color schemes, original gray and faded yellow.
Yeah, just like mine. Mine faded yellow with age. We didn't even live in a smoking home.
I didn't either. Yellow. Mine was starting, last time I had one was like 97, 98, that I got from like a pawn shop, and that one was already turning yellow at the time.
Yeah, mine turned yellow like within a couple of years. That's all it took. Just needed a little touch of air. That's it. So I guess that's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this picture. Yeah. So, thank you, as always, for coming out to yet another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. If you're here with us live right now, please stick around. This is when we're going to be talking to you guys, the audience, doing our Q&A session for the next half an hour. If you're not here with us live and you're watching this over on YouTube later, after the fact, thank you for watching, but I do wish you guys could make it down here on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central so that you can hang out and talk with all of these lovely folks right over here and then talk to us afterward, because otherwise you don't get that opportunity.
Yes, and of course during the week you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
And that having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys again next week.
Thanks, everybody.